Most families think a 7,000-mile road trip with four kids sounds crazy.
But doing it after we retired early at 42, that made it one of the most meaningful trips of our lives.
Today, we're sharing the entire journey, where we went, how much it cost, the wins, the mistakes, everything.
When we retired early, the first thing we wanted to do was spend more intentional time with our kids. Not rushed weekends, not rushed vacations. This trip was our chance to slow down and experience early retirement as a family.
And honestly, we wanted to test what fire actually felt like outside our normal routines day to day. No schedule, no work deadlines for me, typically, and just us in the open road. Okay, so here's the route that we took, and it was a beast, so get ready. The first stop on our trip, obviously, we started in Charleston, South Carolina. Then we went to Kentucky. Then we went to Boulder, Colorado. Then to Utah in Zion National Park. Yosemite was next. Then Lake Tahoe. Then Redwood Forest. San Francisco, we stopped for a bit.
Yeah.
And Monterey Bay, which was awesome. Morro Bay. The Channel Islands. Grand Canyon. Mesa Verde. Waco, Texas. The Georgia Aquarium. And then we made it back to Charleston, South Carolina.
So we wanted a mix of everything. We had national parks, we had small towns, cities, and a whole lot of surprises in between.
All right, Fire family, here's what you guys love and have been waiting for, the numbers. Which honestly, we didn't really want to calculate these numbers, so this video made us actually go back and look at how much everything costs.
I don't want to know.
So let's go into it, at least at a high level, so you guys can get an idea of what this costs. So we drove over 7,000 miles, and with an average miles per gallon rate of about 17 miles per gallon with the Ford Transit XLT, the passenger van, we figured that on average we spent about $1,500 in gas throughout the trip.
Probably most of that was spent in California.
I know,
when it was like
I
about
know.
$7 a gallon.
That's what brought the average price up, was in California. That's crazy.
We got back to Texas and we were like, whoo, that's good stuff. We tried to mix it up. We tried to do affordable hotels, a couple of splurges, like with an Airbnb in Redwoods when we were wiped, which that kind of worked because it was kind of like our middle where we kind of like put our feet down for a little bit longer, and that was after 3 tent options that we did.
Which got more and more rugged as we progressed.
As we progressed. So that total came about to $6,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's one of our biggest costs, for sure. So next is food. 4 kids plus travel days equals constant snacks.
Yeah, that was probably our worst thing.
Yeah, and it was almost like,
and we don't normally eat snacks.
It was like survival, like basic survival.
Yeah. We told the kids basically, like, we need to get somewhere, so you're just gonna eat, like, eat the bar in the car. We're not gonna get out and eat. We're just gonna eat the bar in the car.
Yeah, it was crazy. You guys will figure that out on your trips, but like,
and then you can drink this much water.
You really need to have a plan of like all that stuff, and you have to eat in specific times. So we're trying to keep ourselves from stopping every hour. So total for food, $1,500. That's.
But thus we tried to. Like, if we could cook, we could cook. If we could batch cook, where we had grills and stuff, so we at least tried to not eat out a lot. But our goal is to, if we find a unique restaurant or something that's different than what we can get here, or different than what we can make at home, then we at least try to try it. And we try to find ways to split our meals with the kids.
So we try to get like something big, like a bigger entree at the table at a restaurant, and then split that with the kids. We don't typically just have like the kids each order an entree or something. That would just jack up that price pretty high.
So we visited national parks, mostly free, which was kind of nice during the government shutdown. However, we would have liked to provide. So like the Ark Encounter, we did visit that. That was a cost. Channel Islands on the ferry was a cost. The Georgia Aquarium was a cost. And then there were some other odds and ends that we did throughout the trip. So that total came to about $500.
Now for other expenses, we actually did do laundry a few times, so there was some cost there. Souvenirs, this is not typical for us, but we did hit up the souvenirs pretty hard. There was quite a bit of cost there. We talked about having the kids get like one thing at their favorite park, and then it ended up being we all just got something at every park. We tried to get something memorable, like this shirt.
The shirt or like a mug, and then all of Finn's Legos.
So that was pretty cool. We think that number came up to about $600 for those odds and ends. The other thing we did want to mention was, this would be different for everyone depending on the vehicle you drove. If you drove your own vehicle, you wouldn't have this cost. We had a Honda Odyssey before this trip, and then we looked at renting a 12-passenger van or something, and we looked at the price, and it was just about the same cost of upgrading our vehicle to the Ford Transit XLT, and we bought a 2022 model specifically for this trip and for future trips too. So that was an additional cost for us of about $6,000. That's another big one.
And we'd also been wanting to to venture out to the 12-passenger van because it's just nice to have more space for us with 4 kids.
Yeah, we were also a little nervous about renting a van or a vehicle and not really knowing the mechanical side of it, if it was kept up really well or not, and then driving that across the country, having an issue, and then having to call the owner and talk to them about potentially making a big fix. So we just preferred to have all that under our control for the most part.
Yep. So total cost for a 7,000-mile family road trip.
Yep. $16,100. And I will say, yeah, that's cheaper than Disney. But there were a couple other things that we did. Like for one of the nights, we wanted to test out just camping in a tent, like in our own tent. So we bought a tent that we'll have to show you guys that, but it's like a Cootie 17.1 or something like that for a family, a 2-room tent, like a really nice tent. And that was about $2,000. And then we had bought a generator, a portable generator, which was another $2,000, another $1,000 for solar panels. So there were things like that, but I didn't want to include that in these costs. I don't think that's necessarily represents the trip. Those were sort of long-term investments that we made in travel in the future. But I did want to mention that we did purchase some of those things too. So for the first time ever, we weren't rushing, and that changed the entire experience.
It did, definitely. So with no schedule, the conversations got better. There were points where, kids not really understanding. Like, it was very different for them, even though they do homeschool and we have our routine there, but this was completely different. The kids did bond in ways we didn't expect.
Yeah.
I think being in the van together and then experiencing these different things together, it did bring us closer, and it did sometimes show a side of us.
It was challenging as well.
But I do think that this was the trip of a lifetime, for sure.
And the kids, like Amber was saying, definitely like deeper connections overall, and deeper connections with all of us. We got to go on this adventure. It's kind of hard to describe, but it just brings you closer together when you experience all that at the same time. So the next one is one of my favorites, avoiding the crowds. This is a great early retirement perk. We got to travel midday. We got to travel midweek and midday. So we were able to avoid the crowds for the most part. At certain points with our travel, the way we had to book things, we did have to go to a national park on the weekend. And if we had changed that, it would have messed up maybe something else where a place was only available for a certain time. But that was pretty cool. We have a lot of friends and family members that can only travel on the major holidays when everybody takes vacation. So this is really a nice a perk for the fire movement and for families, so that you guys can take advantage of that.
Yeah. Win number 4 was hidden gems. So we did find places that we never planned on. There were definitely some of the best moments of the trip. Like, what was it? Well, I guess like Vail. We stopped for gas in Vail, and I did not think that we would ever stop for gas in a place like that. And then even just, I think the kids had to use the restroom, and we were like, okay, we got to find, it was in the middle of desert. And there was that place where there was just these trees, and it was, just complete desert, but you were out there like literally by yourself.
Oh yeah, and did we see another RV there?
Yeah, I think there's
I think that was on government land. So, what is that called? BLM? Okay, number 5, fire freedom made it possible. So this trip wasn't about money, it was about time.
And something that we know is precious to a lot of people, and especially to us with the 4 kids, and then even just with ourselves and things that have happened over the past year with our parents. Just something that is a goal of ours, to really take control of our time and to experience the things and not just have this routine where you're always just going to a job and like 9 to 5 and answering to somebody else.
Yep. You just, I guess what it comes down to is like, you never know what your health is going to look like 5 years from now or months from now, and you just never know how much time you have. So you got to take advantage of it.
So now let's talk about some of the worst mistakes we made on this trip. Mistake number 1 was overpacking. Like we packed way too much stuff.
Yeah, and you can tell in the pictures that we literally had no space left. It was, I mean, I could not be more literal in saying that.
We were stuffing things in places like putting pillows because we knew pillows can be stuffed and jackets could be stuffed. Other things couldn't, but those could be stuffed into spots that were open. Mistake number 2 was changing hotels too often. So we like literally unpacked and repacked sometimes every single night. There were points where we just would stay one time and then we'd have to like pack it all back up and get the kids back in. And I think we vowed to never do that again.
Yeah, if we can figure out a way around that, we will try. Which brings us to mistake number 3, not renting an RV. We don't know this for sure. We don't have. I did grow up with an RV with my family, but we haven't done that with our family with the kids, and so that's something we're definitely going to look at in the future and do some test RV trips, even like this maybe next month or in January. Do a test trip coming up to see how we'd like that. But we think that would be a great addition to a road trip like that.
And I know we've talked about an RV before on this channel and potentially doing it for more long term. And I think we'll have to share where that kind of progressed to because that changed. Obviously, we're in a house now. But I think that RV, I mean, the kids get so excited every time we go look at an RV.
Oh yeah.
So I would think, not really sure, but I would think it would just be a little bit easier because you're not having to get in and out. I know you do have to do other things with it. It's not just, it's not completely easy, but.
And then it should help us bring our costs down, which was one of the biggest costs of the trip. So if we can bring that down, we can do more trips.
Yep. Mistake number 4 is underestimating our drive times. There was one point that I think it was a 6-hour day would turn into 8 or 9. There was a 10-hour day that we decided to do. I'll never do that. I'm not sure why we did it. But it did. That one turned into like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, that was rough. Which does kind of bring us to the next point as well. So mistake number 5, not planning any rest days. This is what we talked about before. We really needed more downtime, and so it felt like the pace that we set for ourselves was just kind of rough. And like we didn't have a choice to, the way that our schedule was, we didn't have a choice to just take it easy that day. We decided to kind of keep getting up and forward. Keep getting up early and getting in the car. I think the long travel days in the car started to add up as we took the trip as well.
So I think for us, our goal would be limiting it to like 5-hour drive days, and then always staying more than just one night. Would we do it again? I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. 1,000 times yes, 1,000,000 times yes, whatever it could be.
Yep. You know, it reminded me of why we did fire in the first place. It was for freedom, for time, for flexibility, and for family. I feel like this kind of brought it all together, and it's something that's been on my mind and on my list for
a long time.
Probably my whole life. And as you know, we kind of alluded to this earlier, but we saw our fathers specifically struggle with health issues in the last couple of years. And so this has just been something on my mind that I wanted to make sure that we do as soon as possible, just so that we could have that memory together as a family.
Yeah.
So if you're planning your own big family trip like this, or you're just dreaming about early retirement,
we hope this gives you confidence that it is possible. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you in the next video.
See you next time.